March Madness has officially begun and the NBA playoffs are right around the corner. So since it's the best time of year for basketball, it's also time for you to shoot your shot and score big on the non-stop action with MyBookie. Whether you're filling out multiple brackets, betting on the eventual championship winner, or simply looking for player and game props, MyBookie has you covered. Getting started with MyBookie is simple. Visit the website online, make your first deposit, and use promo code ARNETT to claim an exclusive deposit bonus. Deposit bonuses get as high as $1,000. That's promo code ARNETT to claim some extra money on top of your initial deposit. With hundreds of thousands in prizes for March Madness and weekly blackjack tournaments, you can turn your game day into payday with MyBookie. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere with MyBookie. The world is a much different place than it was 10 years ago, as there is more constant information at our fingertips than ever before. Any single play, action, or moment can go absolutely viral in an instant. Within a matter of minutes, the entire sports world can be made aware of a significant event, and before you know it, everyone is chiming in with their thoughts and emotions. But NBA basketball hasn't always been this way. Many things have happened in years past that were jaw-dropping developments, and if those same developments were to take place in today's world, they would absolutely break the internet. One of the most shocking and insane events of basketball history took place nearly 4 decades ago. On November 9th, 1984, the two favorites in the Eastern Conference were meeting up for their first matchup of the regular season, the defending champion Boston Celtics and the previous champions, the Philadelphia 76ers. At this point in history, Boston and Philadelphia had one of the fiercest ongoing rivalries, as the 76ers represented the old guard with their battle-tested veterans, and the Celtics were the youthful rising power in the conference. Every time these teams met up, an epic battle was expected, not just because of the immense talent on both sides, but also because of the intense physical nature of both teams, and neither side was willing to back down. Just recently before this game was a preseason game. The Celtics' Cedric Maxwell and Phillies' Moses Malone got into a violent fight, which was soon followed up with another intense fight between Larry Bird and Mark Ivoroni, which resulted in ejections. Again, this was the intensity of the two teams meeting in a preseason game. Now, this upcoming game on November 9th was nationally televised and was one of the more highly anticipated regular season games of NBA history. Not just for the rivalry, the star power, and the fact that they had won the previous 2 championships, but it was also for the fact that both of these teams were undefeated. The two faces of the Eastern Conference, Larry Bird and Julius Erving, found themselves in a heated individual battle. Anytime two superstars clash on the basketball court is sure to garner attention, but it's something else entirely for those two stars to get into an actual heated fight. Now, up to this point, both of these superstars actually got along pretty well as friends, and highly respected one another's abilities. You wouldn't know it though, based on how things unfolded on the court. The game was now underway, and to the surprise of absolutely no one, the physical intensity was extremely high. Now, at this time in NBA history, only 2 referees were assigned to work each game. Famous referee Dick Bavetta was one of them for this game, but he was a relatively new NBA referee at this point, so because of this, he was assigned to ref the game with a more experienced veteran official, Jack Madden. Early into the second half, the Boston Celtics guard Dennis Johnson dove after a loose ball and accidentally slid into Jack Madden's legs. This collision broke the veteran official's leg on impact, and as a result, he had to be carried out of the game on a stretcher. And now, the less experienced Dick Bavetta was left to officiate the game by himself. There were absolutely no reserve referees waiting in the wings. In an attempt to gain control of a chaotic basketball game, Bavetta pulled both of the team's head coaches into a huddle and asked them to keep themselves and their team on their best behavior, since he was all alone to ref the game. Both coaches agreed, but only with their words and not with their actions, as Bavetta had to give out numerous technical fouls after the huddle. Only a couple minutes into the second half, Bavetta ejected Philadelphia's head coach Billy Cunningham after he gave him what he thought was his second technical foul. The thing is, Jack Madden had given Philly's head coach a technical foul in the first half, but then decided to rescind the tech and gave it to a Philadelphia player instead. which means Dick Bavetta wrongly ejected a coach with only one technical foul. After a couple minutes, Bavetta learned of this error and had to send a staff member to get Cunningham out of the locker room so he could continue to coach the game. To put it simply, this game was already a messy circus, and emotions were obviously extremely high. But no one knew just how much worse things were about to get. It was a close game halfway into the third, but on an individual level, Larry Bird was destroying Julius Erving on both ends of the court. With 6 minutes left in the third quarter, Larry had a whopping 42 points on 74% shooting, compared to Erving, who only had 6 points on a terrible 23% shooting. And of course, you guys know Larry Bird. He was letting Erving hear about it every step of the way, trash-talking him as he buried jumper after jumper. At the rate Bird was going, a 70-point night was looking like a very realistic outcome, all while Erving was experiencing one of the worst performances of his entire career. Understandably, this whole process was incredibly frustrating to Erving. So when the two stars were battling for position down the court, Erving got right up against his body when Bird swung his elbow towards Erving in what appeared to be an attempt to clear some space. Larry was whistled for an offensive foul for the elbow, and he was irate at the call and started letting the referee hear about it. According to Julius Erving, he extended his arm towards Bird in an attempt to restrain him from the referee. Larry didn't like that very much, and before you know it, a gesture that was made in an attempt to keep the peace turned into both players literally choking each other. After the two stars had each other by the throat, Larry then took the first swing at Erving, and it was on. Moses Malone and Charles Barkley of the 76ers grabbed a hold of Bird from behind and held him in place with a headlock as Erving repeatedly punched the trapped Bird in the face. By the time the chaos had finally been put to a halt, both players had been ejected out of the game. Eventually, each star was fined $7,500 apiece for their part in the brawl. The Celtics went on to win the game 130-119 and remained undefeated. If you feel like the NBA is the same today as it was in the 80s, all you need to know in order to change your mind is that neither of these players were suspended for this vicious altercation, and Erving went as far as continuously punching a defenseless player in the face, and yet neither of them missed a game. Bird was even playing against the Washington Bullets the very next day on the second game of a back-to-back. Now take a moment to imagine something like this happening in the modern NBA. The last two championship teams meeting in the biggest game of the year, both teams being undefeated, and two of the biggest stars in the league get into an incredibly gruesome fight. It would kind of be like Giannis and LeBron getting into a brutal fight, and naturally, social media would be exploding at the event. Imagine if LeBron was consistently punching a defenseless Giannis in the face, while Anthony Davis held Giannis in place. And then on top of that, LeBron doesn't even get suspended. Obviously, this analogy doesn't totally work, as they weren't the last two champions, and they were never close to having an undefeated matchup this season. Even by the most crazy hypothetical modern comparison, it still doesn't match up to the gravity of that fight in 1984. In some ways, it really was like the Wild West in the 1980s. Now here's the thing, these two legends had to meet up again in the regular season just 1 month later. This time, on December 12, 1984, the rematch took place in the 76ers home building in Philadelphia. Obviously, everyone watching was waiting to see if there was yet another fight in store for Larry Legend and Dr. J. For the most part, everything was pretty cordial between the stars. But if Erving was hoping that this would be his revenge game where he would get the upper hand on Bird, then he was left awfully disappointed. Once again, Larry methodically picked Julius apart as he once again dominated the matchup, dropping 34 points, 9 rebounds, and 5 assists on 57% shooting, compared to Erving, who only dropped 16 points on 39% shooting from the field. At this point, Boston had firmly established their mental edge over the 76ers, and when these two contenders later met up in the Eastern Conference Finals, Bird once again had the upper hand, as the Celtics comfortably eliminated the 76ers in just 5 games. Although Erving might have dealt the most punishment to Bird when they physically fought, Bird never stopped abusing Erving that season in terms of the actual basketball. So what do you guys think? What would the fallout be if something like this happened in the modern NBA? Also, would you guys like this to be a series on things that would break the internet if they happened today? Let me know in the comments section below. Thanks for watching as always, make sure to like and subscribe for more basketball content, and I'll see you guys in the next video.